So, I'm the Angel of Pestilence. I want to talk about the realities of the coveted corporate roles that people want. I'm here to share my story of why I actually quit. If you read my bio, I kind of had an existential crisis in October of 2025, and I was basically an engineering director. I was actually a global senior manager, but who I replaced was a director, and they basically wanted to do a forced layoff, so they had to bring me in at a different level, and director levels cost a lot of money. So we're talking like 200K and above, like 200 to 250,000, depending on, what it is that you do. Depending on your experience level and all of that. So I was supposed to be traveling for work a really large portion of my time, and I was overseeing 30 manufacturing sites, 30, okay, 30, for defect management. So basically I was a quality engineering like director, global leader, whatever you want to call it, and I did well. But here's the problem with corporate roles at senior leadership level. It can get toxic, especially in medical device, biomedical engineering. I don't know why that is, but I also think that a large portion is because a lot of people in med device for quality engineering are not actually qualified to do their role. Quality engineering, you can get wide variety of people into that role. So you don't necessarily have to have an engineering degree. That's a little bit less common. Healthcare backgrounds, biology degrees, all that stuff, including myself. I entered engineering like that and just learned everything I could and rose the ladder within 5 years. I've worked for very prestigious companies. I'm not going to say their names. And ironically, that's where I thrived the most, because when everyone else is talented, they're a little bit less insecure. So basically, why did I quit? I quit because I was really sick of toxic behavior. And I don't mean like the 2026, you're toxic behavior. Like, I mean legitimately abusive environment, which is common at those levels. Conversations that no one ever hears, being berated because the person, like the senior leader above you, like senior director, isn't qualified for their role and they're failing. And the senior vice president or vice president is chewing them out. So professionally, most part, if they're a good leader. But when that occurs to a high level, insecure, unqualified leader, their go-to is scapegoating, right? Blaming you for everything. They can't get their shit together, throwing shit at you last minute and then blaming you. I'm just being honest. So that's what happened. I'm not going to say her name, whatever, but I actually didn't directly report to her. She was my boss's boss. So she was about as high up, well, almost as high up as you go. So above her would be the senior vice president, and then above him would be the chief quality officer. And then above him would be the CEO. So it's pretty decently high up. And she didn't know what she was doing. She lost control. She would do what you're not supposed to do as a leader. It's just leader 101. Go directly to her subordinates, right? So that creates complete chaos. Like, why do you even have your boss if your boss's boss is always going to come to you? So I just wanted to explain that, right? That's not normal. That's really poor leadership. It means like you don't actually know what you're doing. And yeah, she was incredibly hostile, verbally abusive. She had sent me to various US cities. I'd get a call, the next day, I'd go to Washington, I'll go to wherever, based on what she wanted. And then I would come back, I would do my best with the very challenged people that I was trying to help, other leaders that didn't report to me. So the whole thing just didn't make any sense. And then I would come back, and then I would have my boss be like, well, our boss's boss wants you to go to China. And I'm like, for what? Like, do you guys have any structure? Like, what is the plan here? Now, I don't blame the boss's boss because he was a really smart leader. I blame my boss because he doesn't actually know what the guy wants because he's just not a good leader. Okay, he probably didn't understand him, wasn't paying attention, and it's just like, you need to go to China. And it's just like his communication was so bad, he was almost like banned from high executive meetings where they didn't want him to report out anymore on anything. So that's how bad it was, okay? Then I would have my boss's boss be like, no, you're going here. Then I would have 30 manufacturing sites be asking me for help and be like, can you come here? Now, keep in mind, I'm in Minnesota, United States, so I'm in central time zone. I was supposed to be helping 30 manufacturing sites all across the US and international, meaning Europe and Asia and domestic. So essentially, if I were to help, I would have to be around the clock working to support all 30 manufacturing sites, plus like 3 leaders, 3 simultaneous requests to go in different directions. It wasn't sustainable. On top of it, my leaders were failing. Like the people that I reported to, they were failing, and it was obvious in the executive leadership meetings, and they were taking that out on me. I don't do that shit. It doesn't go well with me. I was that pushover in the past because I had to be. When I was an engineer one, I'm not going to say what prestigious company, was incredibly abusive as well, but I stayed because I didn't have any other options, and I'm glad I did. Now in my life with my husband's also electrical engineering director. We have assets. Life is different now. I don't have to put up with that anymore, and I can always be a leader. I might take a demotion, be a leader somewhere else, but I don't have to put up with it anymore. So that's my story. And she essentially called me one day. She was like, what are we doing about this and this? And it's like really loaded questions that require an incredible amount of statistical analysis to which I don't have access to. Like the operation statistics is with the sites, and they're supposed to be doing that. I essentially was a central global leader, and it was very disconnected, and it didn't make any sense. And when I quit, I wanted to be like, you need to abolish this role because this role is completely fucking pointless. But I didn't. I was just like, I'm really sorry. I emailed the senior vice president. I was like, I'm really sorry. Thank you so much for putting trust in me. I'm outie. I gotta go. And I didn't explain because at that level, really at most levels, except maybe manager, nobody cares that you didn't get along with your, leaders, or at that point, there's not much they can do because they can't just start firing people, right? Like there's legal implications. They'll have to believe what you say. So it's really complicated. So yeah, I was at a point in my life where I was kind of getting bored of engineering, not engineering, quality engineering. And, it's just like, it's the same shit. It's like, oh, they didn't meet this regulation. Oh no, we have a recall. It's like, no, I'm just playing around. But quality engineering always gets the short end of the stick. We're always the ones without the money, and we have all of the problems to solve without any of the resources. It gets real old real quick. The saving grace is it pays a lot of money. It really does. People are like, no, it doesn't. No. In leadership, we're talking director role, like a good director role at like a stable, financially lucrative company, as in they're performing well, and that will vary, right? Makes 200 to 250. That's not even including the bonus. 15%, 20%, 25%. Get into senior director role and you're making 250 to 300 plus your bonus, which is in a really prestigious company, maybe 25%. So you're taking home almost 60,000 from a bonus, depending on how well you performed or your teams performed. So it is very lucrative. It's one of the reasons we've essentially going to pay our house in a short period of time, combined with my husband also being a director. So I wouldn't change my career. Like I wouldn't go back in time and change my actions, but something had to change. Now I'm still looking, but I'm just a little bit more careful. Like there was a lot of red flags in the interview. It took 3 months to get the job because they didn't know what they wanted, because they're not good leaders, because they're not technically sound. If you're technically sound, you should know exactly what you want. So yeah, that's my story. And I was getting really into rapping, and I was like, I'll just go do that. I'm sick of this shit. Now I had my little existential crisis. I still want to rap. It's a lot of work. God damn it. Bless everyone in the music industry, because this shit is not lucrative. You have to make yourself known. It takes forever. You have to get followers. Once you get followers, that's only like $2,000. X amount of followers means very little money. So when I already have a very successful career, it's hard to justify. Now I did went on social media for a month, tried it out. My husband went through my existential crisis with me. It's like, whatever makes you happy. My preference would be your current career because it's stable. We know we're going to make X amount. So yeah, so I've been out of work because I quit since October, end of October. I just started applying. I'm like, fine, I'll apply now. And yeah, I'm a little pissed at the cards I've been dealt. It seems to be a consistent thing in my career, just like really mean, rude leadership who don't know what they're doing. Except at one prestigious company. So yeah, I'm chilling. I'm making music. If you're curious about engineering, let me know. I'm in biomed. So yeah. Bye.